Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Sam from Historic Travels and welcome to another video. Okay guys, so hey, around 1 or 2 years ago, geez, has it been that long? Holy crap. But anyway, around 1 or 2 years ago, I did a video where I reviewed this Titanic game called Titanic SOS. Now, if you have not heard of Titanic SOS, the point of the game is to basically allow people to experience the sinking of the RMS Titanic as if you were on board the ship. Titanic SOS is a game built from another game called Roblox, and it's a multiplayer game. So you get to walk around the Titanic, explore the Titanic, go inside, go outside the ship, and yada yada yada, talk to other people, all while the Titanic sinks around you in real time. And when I first saw this game, I was just blown away. I could not believe the amount of detail that they put into this game. They really did try to show the sinking of the Titanic as historically accurate as possible, and it was simply mind-blowing. Now, it is also important to note that the sinking of the Titanic in the game does not take 2 hours and 40 minutes like the real Titanic did. In the game, it takes around an hour or so to go through the entire sequence. So, as I said, if you would like to check out the game, I highly recommend it. Link for it in the description below. However, I have been informed that since I made that last video review, they have added quite a few new things to this game. And when I learned about this, I thought it would be fun to go and do a revisit video of Titanic SOS, where we just go in, we check out some of the new features, and just see all the cool new details that the developers added to this game. Now, just to be clear, this is not going to be another full review of Titanic SOS. If you would like to watch that, link for it in the description. What this is going to be is just me checking out the game once again, checking out the new features, and talking about my initial thoughts of everything, and yeah, just checking out the game again. Anyway, guys, with the intro out of the way, let's now go and revisit Titanic SOS, the game that, in my opinion, is the best game out there to truly experience the sinking of the RMS Titanic. I hope you enjoy. Hey guys, so you don't typically see this room, but this is my improv computer office room while I'm working out in Arizona. But yeah, anyway, so this is where we're going to be checking out Titanic SOS. Now, I'm about to start up the game. Now, if I remember correctly, when you start up Titanic SOS originally, like a couple of years ago, you spawn on the ship while it's at sea, the day before the sinking. I would anticipate that it's probably going to be the same way, but yeah, let's check it out. Okay, so here we are in the Roblox menu. This is where you select your games and everything. And let's take a look at Titanic SOS. Oh, okay, from looking at this image, it looks like they might have added the Carpathia to the game. That looks really cool and interesting. Well, all right, let's check this out. Now guys, full transparency here. For this video, I did set up a private server to check out the game, so when you're seeing the gameplay and everything, I will be running around by myself. But remember, Titanic SOS is a multiplayer game, so when you play the game, unless you do a private server, there will be people running around all over the place. The big reason why I set up a private server is just because it's very hard to film things professionally in a multiplayer environment because people are very chaotic. So yeah, just keep that in mind. All right, back to business. Okay, so here we are in the loading screen of Titanic SOS, and I gotta say, I really do like the image of the Titanic sailing off into the sunset. Very cool. Okay, I'm starting to hear some audio from the game. Now guys, just so you know, unless I state otherwise, any audio you hear from this game will be coming from the game itself. Now I'm curious how the game is gonna spawn you in. Last time we spawned on the ship at sea. Wait, what? No. No way, they did not recreate Southampton. Can you experience the Titanic's departure? No way, hold on. And yes, you can. The character you see on screen right now is my character, and I indeed have control of him, and I am walking around the docks at Southampton right before the departure of the RMS Titanic on its maiden voyage. There's the gangway that lets you board the ship. Holy crap, this is unbelievable. Now, remember, in a regular multiplayer game, there would be people all over the place walking around this pier. Holy crap, guys, this is just simply unbelievable. Now, what I did right here was I turned on free cam mode just to get a better idea of all of the surroundings and landscapes and everything. And, I mean, see for yourself, guys. This is just unbelievable. They even have the tugboats. They even have the tugboats that pull the Titanic out as she is departing Southampton. That is just... Holy crap. Am I nerding out? I think I'm nerding out. This is unbelievable. Okay, so I explored Southampton for a little bit, and guys, some of the details that I found were just unbelievable. They even have the New York, docked off to the side. That's the ship that the Titanic almost had a collision with when it was leaving Southampton. It just unbelievable. Now, after I explored the pier for a little bit, I did board the Titanic from the gangway. You should be seeing some footage of that right now. And walking into the reception room on D-deck, that was such a cool experience. And then, guys, after I explored the surrounding area for about 10 to 15 minutes or so, give or take, something really cool happened when it was time for the Titanic to depart. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to let you guys watch it for yourself. It's unreal. So yeah, what did I tell you guys? Just simply unreal. There's actually a cutscene that starts up to show the Titanic's departure. And listen, it doesn't just stop there with the cutscene. It's not like the cutscene just plays and then it teleports you to the Titanic's last night. No, you can actually take control of your character again after those few scenes play and walk around the Titanic as it's departing Southampton. You can look over the side and see the tugboats escorting the Titanic out. It's just unbelievable. And then after a few minutes of this, I heard a snapping sound. There was a snap, snap, and I'm like, what was that? And I turned and looked, and guys, I kid you not, they actually recreated the near miss that the Titanic had with the New York. I mean, it's just unbelievable. Then after the near miss happens, the Titanic narrowly avoided a collision. You can watch the Titanic, sail off to sea as she's heading for Cherbourg. Now, they didn't recreate the Cherbourg or Queenstown arrivals and departures or anything. After the Titanic steams off, the game then jumps you ahead to April 14th, 1912. So then at that point, the game pretty much starts up like what I experienced a couple of years ago. You've got some time on the ship while it's at sea before the iceberg collision. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. So yeah, even though the game doesn't have the Cherbourg and Queenstown arrival and departures, right after the Titanic sails away from Southampton, a text box does appear to explain those events to you. So that way you know what's going on. But anyway, after that text box goes away, the game resumes on the Titanic's last day, April 14th, 1912. And at this point, you have control of your character again, and you can walk around the Titanic and explore everything and see things on the ship before the sinking sequence begins. Now, I believe you have roughly 15 minutes of time on the Titanic at this point before she strikes the iceberg. And I took this time just to explore the Titanic and see if I could notice any new things that were added to the game that they didn't have originally. My first thing that I did was I went through all of my character's items because it seems like they added quite a few new things on there. The game does have a currency system now, you can get in-game money to buy in-game stuff. That was pretty cool. I noticed that I have a pocket watch that lets you keep track of time. That might have been in the old game, but I can't remember. And there were a few other cool details as well. Life jacket, a pocket knife, a flashlight or a torch to my friends over in the UK, an old camera, a whistle, a gun. Yeah, totally can't see people in the multiplayer game abusing those. But yeah, anyway. Another thing that I noticed was I saw the Titanic's band playing on the ship. And as I explored the ship, I noticed that the band would move to different parts of the Titanic to play music. I don't think that was in the original game, but yeah, pretty cool thing to see. Oh, and then I went to the purser's office. And the purser's office is where you spend your in-game money. You can buy things. And I noticed that they had a ticket for the Turkish bass. And I'm like, oh, did they add the Turkish bass? And sure enough, they did. I found the Turkish bass, and that was a really cool detail to see. And when I was looking at the Turkish bass, I noticed a note on a mirror in the Turkish bass, and Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's a reference to the old Titanic game, Adventure Out of Time. Very, very cool detail. That's a Titanic game from the 90s, from those of you who don't know. But then after I left there, I went down Scotland Road and paid respects to one of the Titanic's greatest heroes by visiting his cabin on Scotland Road, Charles Jalkin, who made it his personal mission that the ship would sink with as little alcohol as possible. Cool to see. But then I had one more room I had to check out. It was a room that is arguably the most important room on the Titanic. What room would you guys guess that would be? Is it the bridge? The engine room? No. It is the potato room. Yes, the Titanic had a potato room. And when I walked in there, I was surprised to see that they had replaced all of the potatoes in there with one big potato. And I have decided to nickname this potato the Holy Potato. But yeah. So yeah, after I checked out the Holy Potato room, I then continued to explore the Titanic. And then after a couple of minutes, I noticed that the sun was beginning to set, so I went outside to check out the sunset. I used the free cam mode to catch these incredibly beautiful shots of the Titanic sailing during the last sunset the Titanic would ever see. Such a beautiful thing. I think the graphics have gotten a little bit of an overhaul in this, because the game looks better than what I remember. If any of the Maritime Interactive's developers are seeing this, let me know in the comments below if you guys did a graphics overhaul, because the game looks really good. So yeah, after the sun went down, I continued to explore the Titanic. The elevators still work, similar to what they did before. I noticed the Titanic's band was down in the reception room, so I hung out in there for a little bit. And then it was time to check out the iceberg collision. I went up to the Titanic's bridge and looked out over the railing, and I could see the iceberg coming off in the distance. I heard the phone ring inside of the wheelhouse, and if you guys didn't know about that, basically the phone will ring and then you'll hear Frederick Fleet's voice come through there screaming, "Iceberg right ahead!" That's a really cool thing that I mentioned before. Glad to see that was still in there. And then, yeah, I watched the iceberg collision play out, and I gotta say it was really cool, just like what it was before. I think they made the details a lot better, though. Like, I saw the ice coming down onto the front of the Titanic and spilling onto the forward well deck and all that. It was really, really cool to see. I'm glad to see that they made that look as good as they did. Now, for the most part, the sinking of the Titanic plays out in this game pretty similarly to how it did when I first checked out the game a couple of years ago. So I'm not going to be spending a ton of time talking about all the original really cool details that we discussed in the previous video. If you would like to watch that, again, link in the description. But instead, I'm going to be focusing mostly on the new stuff, but I still am going to mention some of the old stuff here and there. It's just not going to be the primary focus. Anyway, as the sinking of the Titanic began, the entire sinking scenario still takes about an hour to play out. And the first thing I did was I headed deep into the ship, as far forward as I could go, to watch the water begin working its way into the front parts of the Titanic. And this is when I noticed the first cool new feature that they added to this. I noticed that they added this weird mist effect that occurs right before a room begins to flood. That is super cool to see, and I did nerd out a little bit. Then I headed up to the boat deck just to see, I wanted to watch the steam beginning to vent from the funnels, and I'm happy to say that was still there. And let me tell you, they are still very loud, just like it was on the original Titanic when it was sinking. Then, because I knew I had a little bit of a lull, before, a lot of the things I wanted to check out were going to happen, when the sinking started, I was actually doing my laundry at the time, and I needed to go and move my clothes from the washer to the dryer. And I thought I would have enough time to do that. So what I did was I took my character and I positioned him in this room, a room that I knew was going to flood relatively soon, because I wanted to get this really cool shot of the water coming into the room. And I thought I'd be back in time to save my guy before he drowned. Well, that didn't happen. And see for yourself what happened. So yeah, that happened. I was gone so long that I ended up drowning in that room. Oh well, what can you do? Anyway, when I came back and I sat down, this was when I noticed something else that was new. It looks like, based on that respawn menu, that you can play on board the RMS Carpathia during the sinking of the Titanic. Now, to be frank, I didn't get a chance to check that out for this video, But it looks like that you can be on the Carpathia as it's racing to the Titanic. So I'll have to check that out for a future video, but that looks really, really cool. Anyway, after I respawned, I continued to explore the Titanic while the sinking was playing out. And this was when I noticed something else really cool that they added. This is a new feature. When you go to the lifeboats, you have to remove the gates, break the chains, take the tarp on top of it off and everything, get the boat ready for launch. But one cool thing that they added, you see, on the real Titanic with these old davits, you basically had to turn a crank to get the davit into the right position to lower the lifeboat over the ship's side. Now, obviously, they can't completely recreate the cranking motion that the real crew would have done, but they added a close second. So basically what you have to do is you take your mouse and then you have to rotate it in a circle when this icon of a crank appears. So you'll see this icon of a crank in the bottom right corner, and then you rotate your mouse around and around and around to swing the lifeboat over the ship's side. I mean, honestly, that's really cool and really creative that they did something like that. However, due to me being alone on the Titanic and everything and me trying to film everything, I didn't get around to cranking out every single lifeboat on the ship. So unfortunately, when the Titanic sinks in my version of the game, most of the boats are still on board the ship. Sorry about that. Now, while I was lowering this lifeboat away, I noticed a jet of water coming out of the back of the Titanic. And as soon as I saw it, I immediately knew what it was. Now, if you're not that familiar with the story of the Titanic, you might see this jet of water coming out of the back of the ship and not think anything of it. Maybe just it's a game effect. But it's actually a very historically significant piece of the real Titanic story. You see, this jet of water was water that was being pumped out of the Titanic. The engineers and crew were actually using the Titanic's condensers to pump this water out of the ship. So this is water that flooded inside a Titanic that's being expelled from the ship. Anyway, when lifeboats 13 and 15 were lowered away, lifeboat 13 was lowered directly into this jet of water, and that caused the boat to be pushed aft directly underneath lifeboat number 15, which was coming down on top of it. Now, thanks to leading fireman Frederick Barrett, he was able to cut the ropes and get 13 away from 15 right before it came down on top of them, and it would have crushed everybody on board. Like I said, that jet of water is a very historically significant piece of the Titanic story, and I was just blown away that that was in this game. Very cool job, guys. Very, very cool Maritime Interactive. Awesome. Anyway, after I saw that, I continued to explore the Titanic. I went down to the D-deck reception room and saw that water was beginning to work its way up the hallways on D-deck. I opened up the gangway door and saw that water was just about at the door. I left the door open. I mean, what's the worst that could happen, right? Right? Anyway, after that, I continued to explore the ship, and I fired off distress rockets. I saw that that feature was still in the game. That was cool to see. But then I thought there was another feature that I heard that they added to the game that I wanted to check out. You see, way back when I first reviewed the game, I knew that you could play as a wireless operator and use the Marconi set and all that stuff. But I heard that they had overhauled it a bit, and I wanted to check it out. So what I did was I spawned back into the game as a Marconi wireless officer. That's another important detail. Like, you have to select what role you want to play with your character, and if you want to change roles, you have to respawn. So I respawned from deck crew to wireless operator, went to the Marconi room, and was blown away. When I sat at the Marconi set, I noticed that when I began typing out messages, because you can type out messages with your keyboard, it makes the sound of a Morse key being pressed. And not only that, you can see the spark on the Marconi set that was generated whenever they would hit the Morse key. That was an insane detail, and every time you hit a key, a spark generates. So cool. Not sure how that relates to Morse code, probably not at all, but anyway, still a cool detail. Then, as I was sending the messages, the game told me the power is fluctuating. You must adjust the field regulators in the silent room. And I went into the silent room, which is right beside the Marconi room, and you actually have to adjust the field regulators to make the set work. That was so cool, and that is exactly what Jack Phillips and Harold Bride had to do during the real sinking of the Titanic. They had to adjust these to compensate for the Titanic's loss of power as the sinking progressed. Just, oh my gosh, I was like mind blown. And before you ask, yes, other ships will respond to you as you're sending out the messages. Just so cool. This video is getting to be really long. Man, I had a lot to talk about. I'm pretty sure this is longer than the original. Maritime Interactive, you guys have outdone yourselves. Okay, so let's quickly summarize the rest of the sinking. And honestly, guys, it's as cool as I remember. You know, all of the details they got in it are very spot on. I loved watching the lights slowly dim red. You know, they got dimmer and redder as the ship's power decreased. That was cool to see. I noticed the band was playing Nearer My God to Thee. I could hear the ship's band playing, and they actually moved outside onto the boat deck, you know, during the final stages of the sinking. That was cool to see. Another cool detail, so for those of you that don't know, throughout most of the final stages of the sinking, the Titanic was going down with a very sharp list to port, but right around the time that the bridge went under, the ship rolled back onto an even keel. They got that into it, and then as the ship continued to sink, I noticed something odd about the way the Grand Staircase flooded. You see, typically with games like this, the water doesn't have physics. You know, the water basically rises and the ship basically sinks into the water, and the water inside the ship just kind of bleeds through the walls and everything. And for the most part, this game does that, with the exception of the Grand Staircase. They did some tricky coding to make the water flood the Grand Staircase slower than the water level on the outside of the ship. I'm still not sure how they did it. So basically what I mean is, when the water is going around the outside of the top deck of the Grand Staircase, you can still walk down to A deck inside the Grand Staircase, and there's not a lot of water there yet. Very cool. And the Grand Staircase doesn't completely flood until the Grand Staircase's dome goes under and it implodes and the water comes gushing in. Very, very cool that they did that. The rest of the sinking plays out like you would expect, very historically accurate. You know, the bow goes down, the stern rises up, the lights go out, the ship breaks. They did correct the way the funnels fell. You know, you have the third funnel fall over while the fourth funnel remained standing until it touched the water. And after I left the ship, I noticed that they set it up so you can actually drive lifeboats now, or drive lifeboats, but, you know, move lifeboats. You can sail them around and all of that stuff. So I sailed around and watched the Titanic sink. And then after the Titanic went down, a cutscene plays after a few minutes that shows the Titanic's bow slam into the bottom of the ocean. Very cool. Now, nothing could prepare me for what I saw after that. Guys, the game doesn't end after the Titanic's bow hits the bottom of the ocean. They actually added to the game the rescue by the Carpathia. When you're in the boat, you can see the Carpathia appear on the horizon, and you can sail your lifeboat to the Carpathia. The Carpathia's crew drops a rope from the gangway, you climb up it, and you board the Carpathia. That was just, I could not believe that that was added to the game. So cool. I mean, I can't even put into words how cool it was. Anyway, guys, that briefly summarizes the end of the game, and I'm blown away. So, guys, stand by for my final thoughts and conclusion. Wow. Just, what can I say, guys? Just simply wow. Absolutely unbelievable. You know, adding Southampton, you know, at the beginning and going through the Titanic's departure. You've got the near miss with the New York. You've got, like, the added stuff with the Carpathia. That is so cool. You've got, you know, being able to work in the Marconi room, and you even have to adjust the field regulators as the power's decreasing. I mean, just, guys, everything that we've talked about in this video, it's simply unbelievable. Oh, and listen, we can't forget the most important detail. You added the holy potato in the potato room. I mean, the holy potato is just, I mean, like out of all the features we've talked about in this game so far, I've got to say the holy potato is the best part. Now, just to be clear, in the original Titanic SOS video that I did a while ago, I'm pretty sure I mentioned it, I'm not 100%, but anyway, they had a normal potato room, you know, like where they was just piles and piles of potatoes, but the reason why they changed it from all the potatoes to just the one holy potato that I'm calling it was due to how much strain it put on the game's resources whenever it was running. Believe it or not, adding a whole bunch of potatoes causes a Titanic game to lag. So anyway, that's why they did that. But regardless, the team at Maritime Interactive, I think all of us, myself included, I just want to give all of you a big round of applause for creating Titanic SOS. It's simply unbelievable. You guys did your homework. I'm very impressed. And yeah, okay, all right, wait. Here's one little detail that, I mean, it's such a small thing, but I will mention it. In Titanic SOS, you have the band playing Nearer My God to Thee on the Titanic's port side. okay? But if you look at all of the accounts, it's been mostly confirmed that the band was actually playing on the Titanic's starboard side around the entrance to the gymnasium or the first class entrance. One very tiny detail, but yeah, anyway. I had to find something to talk about, but that's the only big thing that I noticed. Anyway, guys, as I said, round of applause, Maritime Interactive. You guys did an incredible job, and I can't wait to see what kind of work you guys do in the future. I hope all of you out there watching this video do go and check out Titanic SOS. I will have a link for it in the description below. It's amazing, and trust me, you won't be disappointed. All right, guys. Well, hey, with that out of the way, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to leave it a like. If you're new here, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much. It really helps out a lot, and I will see you all in the next one. Y'all take care. Special thanks to my captain level Patreon supporter, Tammy Lee. Thank you so much for all the support.